Welcome to the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. I'm at Camp Toyota, and we're doing this sort of vlog style review because we're out here pretty much bashing and thrashing the Toyota Land Cruiser, the Tacoma TRD Pro, as well as the Tacoma Trailhunter through the trails and the mountains of West Virginia. And going into this, I had a sneaking suspicion that the new Land Cruiser was going to be a top contender for a Megan replacement vehicle. We are currently in the market for a new vehicle for Megan because the kids are older and we don't necessarily need all the space that her old Suburban provided. And I have not tested the new Land Cruiser yet, not in a week-long drive. And so Toyota invited me up to what they call Camp Toyota, where we put these off-road vehicles through their paces. And to say that I might have fallen in love a little bit more with the new Land Cruiser, that's an understatement because I am deeply infatuated with this vehicle now. All right, so right away, one of the things that I think most people like about the new Land Cruiser is the styling. The styling is amazing, and I know since I'm a one-man band out here at Camp Toyota this week, Megan's back at home, making sure the house doesn't, fall apart with the fur babies. I'm gonna give you kind of a vlog-style walk-around of the styling, as well as show you some in B-roll, as well as show you some video that I took out on the trail. So I would say that the styling of the all-new Land Cruiser is one of its strong suits, whether it's the 1958 edition with its round headlights, this sort of Land Cruiser edition with the squared off headlights, or then you've got the first edition, which was sort of like a combination of both styling cues. This one's my personal favorite. I know that's sort of a source of debate of like round headlights or rectangular headlights. Like, which one is your favorite? Count me in the rectangular camp because these things look amazing, especially with the switchable white to yellow kind of like trail lights and stuff like that. It's just, I love it. I even love it in this light blue color with the chocolate interior accents. I just think it looks the business, okay? This thing looks absolutely amazing. It's the perfect size, it's the perfect shape, and it really harkens back to the old school Land Cruisers of the past, and I totally dig that. Now, of course, underneath the hood is a little bit of a source of controversy, and I get it, but also I'm gonna tell you why I don't get it, okay? So under the hood of the Land Cruiser here is the turbo hybrid 4-cylinder. This is the iForce Max. If you don't know the specs, I think a lot of people do by now, it's 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, and that's running through an 8-speed automatic and full-time 4-wheel drive. Now, here's the cool thing about the Land Cruiser, and I'm gonna compare it to the Lexus GX, which has a twin-turbo V6. I'm gonna kind of go on the record here. I might actually prefer this powertrain. Here's why. Out on the trails, the hybrid torque, that sort of like low-down, instantaneous torque, it just gives you that little bit of extra oomph. And I feel like, and this could be just totally subjective, I could be wrong, I feel like in combination with things like crawl control and multi-terrain select and stuff like that, having that availability to the instant torque allows the Land Cruiser to just crawl over things with almost no input from the driver. You just kind of pick your line, set your settings, and let the Land Cruiser do its thing. Out on the highway, it's never had, probably 465 pound-feet of torque, doesn't have trouble moving this vehicle. So I get why people have reservations about turbocharging engines, especially workhorse engines, but like this thing is smooth, it's powerful, it even has like a little bit of a growly growl coming out the back end. So I don't know. I know long-term reliability and stuff like that is something that we're years down the road from, but in sort of day-to-day driving and off-road driving off the trail, I really like this powertrain. I really do. So we are in the Toyota Land Cruiser. This is the 1958 edition, so the base model, as it were, and we are going up an incredibly steep hill. And the sort of cool thing about this is that we are in the base model with its cloth seats and all that kind of stuff. And I got my 4 low, my center locking diff engaged. I have not done the rear locking diff. I've got multi-terrain select set to automatic, and I'm going through some incredibly steep uphill moguls, I guess you would call them. And right there we saw a little bit of slippage, and the multi-terrain select just sorts it right out. I mean, this is not easy. I mean, partially because of the incline of the hill and the severity of some of these moguls, but also because we're in West Virginia right now, and it has been incredibly dry all across the southeast. I live in Atlanta, and we are actually about to finish October with no rain, like literally no rain, like 0 inches of rain, which is a record. And West Virginia and some of those places has not been a lot different. So we've got this really weird mix of sandy, like kind of, it's not very muddy, it's all very kind of loose sand and gravel, but also in the Appalachian Mountains. So pretty cool, challenging course here for the Toyota Land Cruiser, and I feel pretty comfortable behind the wheel of this 1958. So the funny thing is, out here in the mountains of West Virginia, we're surrounded by like just absolutely stunning trees and like leaf changes and all that kind of stuff. And the leaves are kind of like falling in this sort of like rhythmic, almost like movie-like fashion, like something you would see out of a movie where it's like, you know, beautiful and there's just enough leaves falling to add that kind of ambiance. And it's all just happening naturally. Like it's like, the word idyllic comes to mind. It is stunning, absolutely stunning up here. So we're about to go up this incredibly steep hill, and I'll try to get some footage of it as we ascend, because me talking about it is not going to do any good. So I'll put some forward-facing footage up as we go up the hill, but this is a pretty insane hill. Hanson from Shifting Lanes, Danny from Danny Drives, getting the good footage as we go up and over. Holy shnikes, that's a deep hill. And we're just going right into it. And right through it. So right now I have it on the downhill assist control. So as you can see, I'll show you some video of this. I'm just chilling and the truck is sorting everything out. So what I've actually done here is, since we're in a line of Land Cruisers and Tacomas, I've just turned on the downhill assist control so that I can use the select knob to say how fast I want to go. It's hard to get a context of how fast I'm going with downhill assist control on, but I'm going slow, and it's actually on the fastest setting. So you can turn the downhill assist control to like level 1, and it will literally like creep forward. So if you were on an incredibly steep incline, you're talking about like very slowly, like modulating the brakes and taking care like to, you know, control your speed. So I mean, it's not really like some, you know, off-road vehicles have like off-road cruise control or whatever. It's not really that, because you never go past like a couple miles an hour. It's more of like this fine tuning, right, of your ascent and descent. And it's really very intuitive being able to just turn it with the knob right here. Like as the line moves, I have it set, I have the brake on, I let off the brake, and it just engages and holds that exact speed. And then I go, well, you know, we're a little bunched up here, so I want to turn it down. I just turn it down on the knob. When I brake again, it just comes to a normal stop. So very, very simple to engage, very simple to use. So now I'm trying this obstacle with the crawl control engaged. So I'm coming down, and I'm gonna let crawl control kind of pull me out. We are tipped quite far over. You can't really get a sense of it, but crawl control is doing everything. All right, right now I am doing nothing. Crawl control is doing everything, And it's pretty cool. This is actually pretty great. Like, as the car comes to sort of a stopping point, it just sort of figures out the exact amount of power that's needed to be applied, which is interesting because like the traction control and stuff hasn't even engaged. Like, the car's just figuring it out as I come around the bend here. This is pretty neat. And then when it comes like right there, it came to a little bit of a stop, applied just enough torque to the wheels and gets us going again, and super drama free. And now watch this. I'm gonna take my knob and I'm turning it back up to high, and I'm going right up this hill. That is freaking cool. That is freaking cool. And probably the most elegant thing I've done since I've been off-roading here. So another thing that I've noticed off-roading the Land Cruiser here is that I've off-roaded all of Toyota's current lineup right now, and this is perfect to me. This is perfect, and let me tell you why. While I'm gushing over the Land Cruiser, first of all, it's very comfy. I mean, this thing is nice. I'm in the 1958, by the way, right now, currently. Whatever video we're watching about off-roading, I'm currently driving the Land Cruiser 1958, so the base model or whatever. Fabulously comfy, all that good Land Cruiser stuff. But what I like about it is it feels so manageable on the trail here. And it's just as capable, maybe not just, but it feels just as capable as mortal humans would need when compared to the Tacoma TRD Pro and Trailhunter that we have on hand. Now, don't get me wrong, that Trailhunter looks the business. That Trailhunter looks the absolute business. But do you necessarily need all that? I don't know about that. And I might trade off what it can do beyond the Land Cruiser for the creature comforts and ambiance of this interior, which I generally like better. Great view in front, and then great view behind. That's what I like to see. So one of the hardest obstacles is coming up that test the suspension articulation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it with the crawl control engaged, and I'm gonna put it down to its kind of lowest setting and show you as best I can what that's like letting the Land Cruiser just sort everything out. So you can see here, when you turn the dial, you can adjust your speed, and level 6 is slow, level 1 is like super slow. So I think we're gonna use level 1 over this next obstacle. This angle, we're like, you can see the hood. Like, I'm holding the phone straight right here, and that's how much angle we have going over this mogul. Omar drives, famous from TikTok, you might know him, up ahead. So we made it past that obstacle. A couple things I would point out. One, 100% crawl control. I set the crawl control actually to level 2. I didn't even go to level 1. Level 1 was actually too slow. Level 2 was fine, sorted it out just fine. The other thing I'll point out is that all of the off-road vehicles, this applies to all the Tacomas, TRD Pro, Trailhunter, and all the Land Cruisers, are running street pressures on their tires. Nothing is aired down to prove that in this environment, these things can handle it. So Toyota did that intentionally, in case any of you guys were wondering why some of the vehicles are not aired down. Now, forgive me a little bit for not having as much sort of a contextual viewpoint without Megan here to help me film, because I have to do this myself, so you can't quite see. I'm almost 6'6", so you can sort of get an idea of how well I fit in the inside of the Land Cruiser, but you can't get that far away view. And I also will sit in the back seat, so you can kind of get a view of that too. This is the Land Cruiser version, so it's got like kind of the best of both worlds. You got most of the luxury features. You got your heated and cooled seats, you got your memory seats, you got your sunroof, 12-inch infotainment and gauge cluster displays, heads-up display, and then more importantly for a Land Cruiser, you have all of your off-road goodies. So that includes multi-terrain select, downhill assist crawl control, as well as your drive mode select, which is all in this little knob, like right here. And then you've got your center and rear lockers, which is super cool, and your front stabilizer bar disconnect. And I'll be showing you footage while I'm talking about this of this Land Cruiser doing its thing out on the trail, or all the Land Cruisers doing their things. Even the 1958 edition, that was actually the first one I drove on the trail, and it was awesome. It tackled just about everything with no drama. But what really sets this apart is the interior materials. Let me talk about that for just a second. All right, so I'm sort of trying a new thing here, going kind of high quality first person mode, but I wanted to be able to point to stuff while I'm talking to you guys. So we've been driving the Tacoma and the Land Cruiser, and one of the things that stands out to me is that the interior materials of the Land Cruiser, and you would think this makes sense, right? Because the price point, the interior materials are very noticeably better. And you might be like, well, the Tacoma is a pickup truck. Well, guys, we're out here with the TRD Pro Tacoma and the Trailhunter Tacoma, which cost as much as this Land Cruiser. And I'm not bashing them because I really like them, and I did some videos on them if you want to go see those videos, but just the interior styling and ambiance. So you got the 12.3, I think it's 12.3 inch display, the sort of more piano key and climate controls, which are hard buttons, very much appreciated, Toyota, thank you. And then all of your off-road stuff, very easy. This is what I like about the off-road stuff. It's all right here and super easy to access. So you've got all your switches, you got your rotary knob up there. These seats, so Megan loved the Sequoia, but one of her complaints about the Sequoia was that the seats were a little too firm. These seats totally fix that. So they're comfortable, supportive, they're cushy. This chocolate leather looks really nice. Like, the interior of this Land Cruiser feels like 2 steps beyond that of the Tacomas that we're driving. And so for my money and the everyday usability, I really like this vehicle. I love the spelled out Toyota on the steering wheel. Everything is super easy. I'm a fan of Toyota's infotainment system, very straightforward, user friendly. So like everything about the way that this Land Cruiser interior looks, it really gets me. I'm a big fan of the way that this Land Cruiser interior is laid out, the ergonomics, and then of course like this sort of interface with the off-roading switchgear. Like, it's just a lovely place to be, to quote Megan, because she likes to say everything is lovely. It is a lovely place to be. I really feel like she's going to adore this car. One of the things that you notice about the Land Cruiser, and I'll point to it down here, is you notice that the battery pack resides underneath the floor. So it actually like kind of lifts the space of the floor, decreasing overall cargo space. Now, the upside of the cargo space here is that it is a giant square, okay? So you're still able to fit a lot of stuff. And I'll put kind of the capacity numbers on screen, but this isn't a deal breaker for us because our kids are older and they drive. If you had a young family and you were going to take trips in this thing, that might be an issue. And then I'll show myself sort of standing here for context as a large person so you can kind of see. But there's my carry-on suitcase, camera bag, and stuff like that to give you an idea. So I could fit probably about, 3 of these carry-on side by side and like stand up a couple more back there. So you get an idea of like how much space there is. And it's usable kind of squarish space. But if you need maximum capacity, this might not be for you. Now, I will say, compared to the Sequoia, this is noticeably better. Yeah, okay, so here's me, all of, almost 6'6", sort of standing by the rear cargo access. I'm not gonna sit inside like I do sometimes because it's filthy dirty from all the trail running, but you can see that the rear cargo area of the Land Cruiser is not gigantic, but it's very usable. And so like, if you had 2 kids like we did, and they were growing up, you could probably get away with this. It has more capacity than the Sequoia, but not something like the Grand Highlander. So if you're into Toyota, you might want to check that out as more of a family vehicle. But if you really want the rugged capability of the Land Cruiser, that might not be a deal breaker for you. It is definitely decent in the segment. I would also take the trade-off. Again, me personally, it's a little bit of a hot take. I would take the trade-off of the Turbo 4 with the hybrid assist over the twin turbo V6 and the GX550. That's just my opinion.
All right, guys, I promised I would show you the back seat space of the Toyota Land Cruiser, but I'd also promised I'd show you as best I can what the back seat looks like with someone who's almost 6'6" sitting in it behind the seating position of someone who's almost 6'6". So let's take a look.
Okay, I know you're like, Jack, you're ridiculous. You can't hardly fit behind yourself. And I would point out two things, okay? One, sure, you're right. I can't really totally fit behind myself, but I can actually do it. I can wedge my knees back here. Also keep in mind that this is set for where I would have it at almost 6'6". Not many people are that tall, and not many people this tall are gonna be sitting behind someone. So a kid or someone could sit behind someone who's almost 6'6". But more importantly, the Toyota Tacoma in TRD Pro and Trailhunter guys, I can almost physically not get in the vehicle sitting behind myself, literally cannot even enter the vehicle. So considering what this Land Cruiser can do, considering the practicality of it, and considering the increased rear seat space, maybe you're starting to see why I love this freaking vehicle so much. It's just the right size for what we want right now. So if you're in the position that we're in, with your kids getting older, and you want a fun family vehicle, this thing is knocking it out of the park, honestly. So guys, I would love to know what you think of the Toyota Land Cruiser. I am a massive fan of this vehicle. This is one of those kind of you had this image in your head about what you wanted the vehicle to be, and it lived up to the hype, all right? Now, obviously, Land Cruiser's reputation for long-term faultless reliability, we can't know these things until we're 5-10 years down the road. Honestly, we won't know these things. I know people make this big deal out of some early teething problems with things like the Tundra and the Tacoma, and I really don't think it's that big of a deal. And let me tell you why. When new models come out from any brand, including Toyota, there's always problems. You can go look at when generations debuted of older Toyota models that were considered very reliable, like the last gen Tundra, the last gen Tacoma. They always had some sort of refinement issue that needed to be ironed out that led to them being faultlessly reliable. So I'm not really worried about that at all. I would absolutely buy a 2024 Land Cruiser, also because when there are problems, Toyota takes care of its customers. And that's why people like me choose Toyota. We have our RAV4. I just bought a 2020 Camry Hybrid because I needed a used commuter car. And now Megan's looking for a new car, and I would absolutely 100% consider this right out the gate, 2024 model. I absolutely would, because I love it that much. I think it is fantastic for where we are in our lives currently, and I would really like to know what you guys think in the comments. So make sure you like and subscribe and do all that stuff that probably doesn't even matter in the algorithm anymore. Comment down below what you think of the Toyota Land Cruiser, or what you would choose as an alternative, because there's not many alternatives to a vehicle that can do what this one can do. And we'll see you in the next video.